Hey guys, back doing another episode of Talking Sports. I'm with my roommate Anthony. We're going to be recapping some of the big things in free agency. And as both of you know, we're both Giants fans, so in a little bit we're going to get into the whole Odell Beckham situation and where it leaves the Giants. But first, we're going to talk about the Steelers and two of their best players that are now gone due to free agency through this legal tampering window. The first one being Le'Veon Bell, who officially signed late last night with the Jets for 4 years, $52.5 million. Seems like a great amount, but keep in mind he didn't play this past year and he would have made $14.5 million. So he got substantially less than he probably could have gotten had he signed a long-term deal along those lines with the Steelers. And he just lost $14.5 million because he didn't play last year. So, and what do you think of the thing? What's your reaction to it?
Well, Le'Veon Bell, I mean, the Jets were the only team that actively pursued him with heavy interest. The only other team that I heard go after Le'Veon was probably the Baltimore Ravens.
They didn't even make an offer. I read this morning.
Yeah, because they turned their attention to Mark Ingram, who they did sign today. So
3-year deal, $15 million.
So when it comes to Le'Veon, now the Jets have probably the best playmaker they've had since Curtis Martin back in the 90s. So this is something that Sam Darnold needs. This is something that I hope that the Jets front office looks into investing into offensive linemen, because without offensive linemen, then Le'Veon's efforts are null, especially with his running abilities. So, but this is a big step forward for that franchise. This is really, when you have all that cap space, you got to use it to the
But
best.
is he going to perform well? Because he's taking a whole year off now, and you can do well when you have a year off. Adrian Pearson did well, but is he going to be the same dynamic playmaker as he was before? Because he hasn't faced any competition in over a year now, because it's going to be almost 2 years by the time he gets back into training camp and preseason. I mean, I'm worried that he might not be the same player.
I mean, well, that's like something that I think Jet fans will worry about when we start seeing some preseason action in August.
Well, you can't judge preseason. First
Yeah,
4
well,
weeks. First
yeah.
4 weeks of the NFL season in September. We're going to find out if
Even
the
that.
investment paid off. Because they don't play in a preseason. The most they do is 3.5 quarters in the fourth game of the year. And that's just to get in the habit of conditioning through it all. I personally think Le'Veon struck out and cost himself so much during this deal. Because in order to make up that money that he missed out on this past year, he would have had to get a contract for roughly $17 million per season, which is above the franchise tag. Actually, more. It would have had to be closer to $18 million to recoup that $14 million that he would have lost. So you were looking at an extra $16 million. He would have needed to get a contract for 4 years, a little over $70 million. And he couldn't get it. You know why? Because every single team said, that's overpaying you, and we're not paying you more than these other guys. The only guys, Le'Veon's a great running back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's top 3 in the league with Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I said it. Saquon Barkley's not top 3 yet. Had a great year. Yeah. But it's 1 year.
Who's a rookie?
Robert Griffin III had a great year too. Look at where he's at now. Trent Richardson didn't have a bad first year either. Number 3 overall pick in 2012. Look at where he went. But he looks so stupid now, and it's going to stop other players in the future now from holding out a whole year, because they ought to know now that teams won't give them the entire money and make up the money that they might be seeking, especially when you're getting older. And this is his first free agency contract situation too, because remember, he was a rookie from Michigan State for 4 or 5 years, because they, took him in first round, or even if they didn't, he was in the second round, but they got him on like a 2-year extension. So it just doesn't make sense to me. He struck out. He looks so stupid on this now.
Yeah.
And God bless him. Jets, you did good. Darnold has a weapon now that he can get to on third down. But
it's a win for the Jets and a financial loss for Bell. I'll say that. And
moving on.
Yeah.
moving on, though, we're going to talk about the other Steeler who was still under contract for Pittsburgh for 3 more years, but he wanted out of there because he felt he wasn't, quote-unquote, the big guy with the big chest in a locker room, and it was Roethlisberger, being Antonio Brown, who a couple days ago was traded to Oakland. Of course, that becomes official in about 1 hour from us making this video when the new league year officially begins at 4 o'clock. But all in all, he got a restructured contract where he now has, instead of $30 million guaranteed, he has close to $50 million guaranteed, and he's still signed for 3 more years. So he basically got what he wanted, which is, good for him, good for Derek Carr. They basically got rid of, they got to keep all 3 of their first-round picks in the trade, which I'm mind blown about.
Yeah,
I don't get that was whatsoever.
It was a forced trade. They weren't gonna. I doubt Pittsburgh wasn't a first-round pick for.
I think he's worth it.
He was worth it, but I feel like the circumstances.
Give him a first round pick and a 5th round pick. That's what the Steelers should have gotten for him.
He's worth that, but I feel that the circumstances to which
AB
forced his way out of there.
Especially if you're the Raiders and you're going to restructure his contract to give him more money, then what do you care giving up a first round pick for? A first round pick would have actually saved you money because it costs you less as opposed to the 3rd round pick that you gave up. So now unless you trade that one away or you trade the 2 to move up, you're still eating more cap space. It's great for the Raiders. Okay, Derek Carr gets a receiver, even though he already had one. That's the other thing. The Raiders basically traded away Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, and in return, they get 2 first-round picks and Antonio Brown out of it, and 2 other picks, I believe. And they get a first-rounder next year as well, as part of the Khalil Mack trade. So it's good for the Raiders.
Yeah.
John Gruden actually looks like now what the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
I still don't think it was right to trade Khalil Mack
in
the end scheme of things, but they did good for Antonio Brown. But in my opinion, the Steelers lucked out and didn't get his full market value.
I mean, it's one of those things that these players are just forcing their way out of teams, out of their current situations, and I said the circumstances to which this happened, it does look like a win for the Raiders who are going to Vegas next year. That's a big draw. They kind of need that.
They need to be winning.
The Raider name is big enough in this country when it comes to professional football.
It can help, but
it helps. But it's nice to have talent.
They won't draw ratings unless they're winning. There's only 5 teams. There's only probably 5 teams in the NFL that can draw consistently good ratings, despite if they're.
It's from name value.
Yeah, and it's Pittsburgh, Green Bay, the Giants, the Patriots right now, as long as they have Brady and Belichick, and then probably the Cowboys.
Yeah, Dallas.
Maybe throw the Eagles in there. Because Philly's a decent sized market.
The Eagles
you can throw in there.
The Eagles
but
currently.
That's about it. I mean, the West Coast teams don't draw too big of a crowds. The Midwest, the rest of the Midwest doesn't do too much. Down south, the Dolphins or the Falcons don't get big ratings. The Bills don't. The Jets might now because the Jets should. No. I mean, get close to 500 next year, if not be over it. So, I mean, we'll see. Moving along then into what's going to be our favorite discussion of this video, and has been blowing up all the radio networks here in New York today, all the TV networks. It's all over all the newspapers. I can't go more than 5 minutes on Twitter scrolling up and down without seeing something about this trade. Last night at about 8:30 p.m., right when I was finishing my class, by the way, last night, the Giants announced that they decided to trade their star receiver, who's top 3, top 5 in the league, depending on who you value, to the Cleveland Browns for Cleveland's first-round pick this year, a 4th-round pick this year, and safety Jabril Peppers. Now, I think you and I can both agree that Cleveland did a great trade because Cleveland got a star receiver and they got him cheaper than what they probably should have gotten for him. Agree?
Yeah, I do agree. Absolutely. I mean, Jabril himself was expendable. The Browns are no longer really in that position to have really be chasing picks anymore. Now they're in the position to trade picks for players. So
you still need picks then to get players because when they start to decline, you need to refurnish them and get them.
Yeah.
So they're trying to win now. They're trying to win. They're
trying to win now.
They're trying to win in the next 2 years while they still have Baker for a cheap contract before they have to pay him more if he performs up to that level where he has to do it. And again, 1 year, it wasn't even a full year. It was, 11 games I think he started, maybe 12?
Odell, yeah.
No, Baker.
Oh, Baker.
I think he started 12 or 13, actually. Because I think it was week 4 he came in at halftime and replaced McCown. But, so we don't disagree on that. What we have an issue with is the New York Giants, Dave Gettleman, and processing how this makes sense. The only part of this trade that I see that makes sense is they got Jabril Peppers in it, who can replace Landon Collins now. Yeah. So that's why they let Landon Collins walk. So instead of having to pay him an absurd amount of money like the Redskins did, now they got Jabril Peppers for 3 more years at a cheaper price because he went late in the first round into the 20s. So that's a positive out of the deal. The problem for the Giants is, in my opinion, they got 1 pick less for him. They probably should have had another first-round pick. Should have gone a first-rounder next year from Cleveland. Yeah. That's what I would have done. 2 1s and a 4 is a 4, you know.
Yeah.
Who cares about that? But let's examine that part first. Do you think that the Giants got a short end of the stick? And here's the other thing. Odell didn't want to leave New York. If Odell wanted to leave New York, he would have just came into this year, signed a franchise tag. They would have tagged him, traded him under that, and been fine. But he signed an extension last year. Mm-hmm. And the Giants clearly wanted him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given him an extension, and they would have just picked up the team option.
I mean, when you say 2 first-round picks, that's really great. I feel, you could definitely say that they got a short end of the stick. At least they got a first-round pick.
Well, we have one. We have a top 6 pick.
No, I mean, I'm saying at least they got one in return. Unlike what you said, the Raiders did not. The Steelers got for.
Steelers were idiotic for that, but
yeah. So we could say that we kind of won in that aspect, but I really do wonder: was this a Gettleman decision, or was this a John Mara decision?
Well, that's
one of those things.
That's the elephant in the room. And for anyone that says Odell Beckham is a distraction and he's a nuisance and he causes more trouble than he gives, I honestly want to ask you, and feel free to reach out to me afterwards after listening to this video. He never got a DUI, to my knowledge. He never got drunk driving. He never failed the drug test. He never hit any women.
Never got any domestic violence.
No domestic violence. None of that. He wasn't Antonio Brown and said, I want out of here. He wasn't a distraction in the sense that he made everything about him. Keep in mind, the media, when they see a story, they'll blow it up. Okay? Odell hitting a net. They're going to blow that up because they want to get ratings.
Well, the Josh Norman stuff a couple of years
ago. The Josh Norman stuff,
was kind of
but
bad.
Josh Norman was also on that. In my opinion, for the 4 years Odell was here, or 5 years? It was 5 seasons. Because 2014 was his first year, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 5 years. In the 5 years he was here, okay? The only thing that he ever did here, 2 things. The only 2 things that he ever did here that became a distraction, 2016 season, 2017 playoffs, when he went on the boat trip down in Miami on the Monday before they had to play the Packers up in Lambeau. Yes, that made a distraction and it got a lot of people talking. But in fairness, all the other receivers did that as well. So don't put it all on him. And then secondly, was 2017 before he got injured, when they went into, I believe it was Philly, and he did the dog peeing celebration.
Yeah.
That one I'll give you, okay? But like I said before, no domestic violence, no alcohol related troubles or marijuana troubles or weed or any other steroids or substance abuse problems. Never hit any women. Never did any of these things.
No.
Okay? And keep in mind, Le'Veon Bell, who we talked about earlier, he has had trouble with drugs in the past, and he was suspended for 4 games because of substance abuse problems. Okay? Von Miller was suspended for 4 games a couple years ago for not being able to stay off the weed. Okay? Julian Edelman was just suspended this past year. You know, there's tons and tons of players. Odell Beckham was never that kind of person for the Giants. So for those that say he was a distraction and that's why they trade him, you're flat out wrong, because he was not a distraction. And he's one of the best players in the league. But now, one more thing we have to discuss about this entire trade is, are the Giants trying to rebuild? Or are they trying to just, try to win now? Because if you're trying to win now,
They're not trying to win.
you just hurt yourself, because Odell's the best player you have. But if you're trying to rebuild by, trading away Olivier Vernon, his contract, getting rid of Landon Collins and getting someone cheaper than Jabril, trading away Odell because he has too much money, which you signed him to, by the way,
Yeah.
and you wanted him to sign, then how do we still have Eli Manning? Don't get me wrong. I love Eli Manning. All right, he's my favorite Giants quarterback of all time. I love him. I always try to give him the benefit of the doubt when the offensive line is piss poor or the defense is giving up 28, 30-something points. I always try to. But he's got a $23 million cap hit.
Yeah.
And we're eating $16 million this year with Odell's contract for this year. And not to mention, we're paying almost $34 million to 9 players who aren't going to play for us this year. Vernon, we have dead money for. Who else? Janoris Jenkins, did we get rid of him yet?
Nah.
No, so he's still here. But
Do we have dead money on snacks?
we have dead money on Snacks.
What
He's about almost $3 million.
Do you have any on Eli Apple?
Eli Apple has about $2 million.
I'm just thinking about players we've traded.
And you try to help me understand
We're
where are we trying to go,
trying-
do we not know where we're trying to go?
trying to rebuild. I looked at a little stat on a little while ago. Do you know that the Giants are the only NFC East team? I know there's only 4 teams in the division that have not won a division title in the past 7 years. That's
7 years?
in the past 7 years. Just have not. Well, the last time we won a division title was 2011.
Okay, yeah, that was the year we went to the Super Bowl.
Went to the Super Bowl, and so.
2012, we
And
didn't
I've been
make the
saying this for a
playoffs.
while. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles have passed our organization by miles. But the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and the Cowboys doing what they do, even though
Well, the Cowboys, the jury's still out on, because
Yeah.
keep in mind, Dak is going to be gone in about a year if they
Yeah.
don't re-sign him or they franchise
Yeah.
him. Ezekiel Elliott has 2 more years because he was a first-round
Yeah.
pick, so he has the option.
And they're
So
gonna
he
get
can
rid
be
of
stay there. But they got Dexter Lawrence, who they just franchise tagged, and they got more players they got a lot of
Yeah.
players. They have
I'm
to
just talking about
pay.
success that they have had with how Dak burst upon the scene.
Well, I
Zeke burst upon
wouldn't
the scene.
consider the Cowboys passing the Giants yet. In terms of like the last 3-4 years, sure. But
Yeah,
in
that-
an overall context,
That's what I mean.
the
like
Giants
past
are still
recent history.
the Giants are still one of the premier namesake organizations in the NFL. That will never change. In terms of holding pristine, because they're one of the oldest.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have their owners have been the same since 1925, or no, excuse me, since the 1950s, 60s when the Mariners bought the team. So that part will never change.
Yeah.
But you say they're trying to rebuild. Well, if they're going to try to rebuild, then that almost means for certain that they're either going to trade both of those ones to Arizona or someone else to move up in the draft and get a Kyler Murray or someone.
They might.
Or they're going to draft someone like a Drew Lock or Haskins at 6. Now, I don't think it's a great QB class. And you know that as well
Yeah.
from me telling you about it, okay? Because none of these guys that are in the class right now, if they were in last year's class, they wouldn't be going first round. Not one of them.
Nah.
Okay? Not one of them. Now, next year's class, that's going to be a great class. Okay? Even if, the mechanics and stuff are a little shaky and whatnot, you got Herbert from Oregon, You got Sam Ellinger from Texas, Fromm from Georgia. You're going to have Tua is going to be available, who, by the way, is probably going to be in New York again for the Heisman ceremony, and he'll probably lead Alabama to another undefeated season heading into the playoff. You got Jalen Hurts, who will be available from Oklahoma. You have Kelly Bryant, who's going to be there from Missouri. Shea Patterson will be available from Michigan. And I'm probably forgetting some other ones at some smaller schools. Well, not smaller schools, but smaller programs in the FBS that are going to have, better things. So, and the Giants have 2 first-round picks now. Do you think, obviously, I think we're both, you think they're rebuilding. I think they're completely lost in what they're trying to do as of right now. Sure, you can be told because maybe in 2 years they end up making the playoffs.
Maybe.
Who knows,
If they have all this cap space in the next offseason, you would think they're going to be adding a bunch of players.
Well, because Eli's contract is up after this year as well.
Oh, yeah.
So they basically shelled out all of their money. Obviously, you're going to have to get some people back and whatnot. Nate Soldier might be the biggest cap hit we have next year. Because Janoris Jenkins' contract is up after this year, too.
That's another Gettleman move.
But, so they have 2 first-round picks. Who do you see them taking? I don't know how much you studied the draft so far, but give me, positions.
I just, is Dwayne Haskins so coveted that they would need to trade up to 2 to get him? Because I just don't understand that. Because people say, you have to trade the 2 first-round picks to go up. I'm like...
Dwayne Haskins had a great year. Okay, he threw 50 touchdowns to, I think it was 13 interceptions. Maybe less. Maybe it might have been 8.
Yeah.
But it's 1 year.
It was an explosive offense.
It's 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't judge a guy based off 1 year. And if you say you can, I'm just going to tell you RG3. And I will hold that for the rest of my days. He had 1 great year at Baylor. He had 1 decent year with the Redskins. And he went down faster than you can count. He went down faster than freaking Sonny Liston did in the second fight with Ali. That's how fast his career went down. And all these other, there's plenty of other examples, but he's the most notable one. Okay? I mean, crying out loud, Brandon Whedon, I think when he came out, he won 4 or 5 games with the Browns his first year. And where is he now?
Can't find him.
You can't find him. Trent Richardson had a good first year, so where is he now? But position-wise, who do you think they're going to take?
I would love them to get Jonah Williams out of Bama, the offensive tackle. Of course, that's a really big area of need. There's
Put him on the other side of Soldier. If Soldier can,
and there's a bunch of pass rushers too. Well, considering that we need a big time pass.
I agree with you with Jonah Williams. I'd take him at 6 because he's going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to be there at 6 because, if indications are true, Kyler Murray's going to go top 5. Nick Bosa will go top 5. Josh Allen, not the quarterback Josh Allen, the edge rusher Josh Allen will go top 5 from Kentucky. I'm trying to think of who else are some other. There's some other big name defensive tackles and outside linebackers.
Well, obviously, I think Rashawn Gary.
Rashawn Gary is probably a top 5 pick. So Jonah Williams will be there. Tell me what you like of this. We have number 17. There's Clemson last year had an NFL defensive line. Okay, they had Clelin Ferrell, Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins. Okay, and then there was the other guy on the end who was equally as good. I can't remember his name right now, but he was equally as good. If they start to go in the teens, I'm taking any one of those guys I would like because we have holes we got to fill on the defensive line now. Or if the guy you really want is, say he's at 13 and Miami's not going to take a quarterback there because Miami wants to wait next year, hypothetically. Okay? And they say, hey, we're going to take Dexter Lawrence. And Gettleman really wants Lawrence. You trade pick number 17 and you give up, a third rounder this year because I think we have 2.
Yeah.
Give up your third rounder, move up, and maybe even throw in a 7th round pick. So give up 3 picks to move up to 13 and take the guy you want.
Yeah.
Okay? Those are what we should do. And then, we'll suck it up for Eli. Okay? Let him play out his final year because he'll probably retire then because he'll be 39. Okay? And yes, I agree. Some of Eli's best years are past him. But keep in mind, he didn't play bad last year. But that offensive line and the defense taking regression, okay? He didn't throw for, 30-something touchdowns and only have like 10 interceptions. He didn't do that, but his completion rate was the highest of his career. And he's threw for over 4,500 yards, I believe he threw over for.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
Well
over 4,000 yards.
In what universe is over 4,000 passing yards and above a 60-something completion percentage a bad year? I mean, Drew Brees set the record for single season, and it was like, 71?
Something like that.
I want to say it was low 70s. So, I mean, do you like taking that defensive line?
I would
the second first
definitely
rounder?
because those are legitimate holes, and obviously now our offense is hindered.
Well,
because now
we still have a tight end in Ingram. We still have one guy in Shepard. Maybe we get some other receivers in the latter part of the draft or pick up some veterans, potentially. We have a running back. You have a guy that knows this system and knows how to play quarterback. So, but I think we're in agreement. We should both try to get a quarterback next year.
Yeah.
And if you have to, trade a decent amount of picks to move up and get them, that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that's us just recapping Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and the Odell Beckham trade and where it leaves the Giants. I'll be back soon doing another video recapping St. John's basketball season, including their game tonight. They played DePaul at the Garden in the first round or play-ins for the Big East tournament. We weren't expected to be in this game tonight, but we are. I'll save it for that video, though. And I'll be back giving picks for NCAA championships in wrestling because the seeds drop at 6 o'clock tonight. So, thanks for listening, and be sure to check us out again.